The war between humans and the Thaylen Empire had finally ended after years of fear and misunderstanding. The peace treaty was signed, but peace itself was still fragile, like a thin glass that could break with one wrong word. Both sides had lost too much. Too many lives, too much trust. Now both races tried to rebuild what was broken. Sergeant Elias Ward, a human soldier, had volunteered to stay behind on the Thaylen homeworld, Valier Prime, as part of a peace mission. He wasn't a politician or a commander. He was just a soldier who wanted to make sure no child on either side ever had to see another war. Valier Prime was a strange and beautiful place. Its sky was violet with two suns that rose side by side every morning. The air smelled faintly of spice and metal. The Thaylen buildings glowed softly, their walls alive with flowing light. Elias had learned a few of their customs, their greeting bow, their way of touching their temples as a sign of respect. But most Thaylen still avoided him. They had never forgotten the war. To them, humans were impulsive, emotional, and dangerous. Elias didn't mind. He just kept doing his work, helping engineers repair damaged systems, teaching a few human methods of power stabilization, and making sure he didn't offend anyone with his easy smile. One day, he was sent to assist with the rebuilding of a power junction near the Royal District. It was the most advanced part of Valier Prime, beautiful, bright, and full of guards. Elias worked quietly beside a group of Thaylen technicians, checking readings and tightening clamps. Nearby, a few Thaylen children watched from behind a fence. Their eyes were large and shimmering, their skin smooth like polished glass that reflected the twin suns. They whispered among themselves about the strange human. One small girl didn't run away. Her name was Nira. Nira was curious. She often watched Elias when he came to work. Sometimes she waved shyly, holding a small flower in her hand. Elias would grin and wave back. That day he noticed her standing near the fence again. She smiled at him and he smiled back. For a moment everything felt peaceful. Then the ground trembled. A warning light flashed red on one of the energy towers. The Thaylen engineers shouted in their native tongue. Elias looked at the control board and saw the readings spike. The energy coil was overheating. Before anyone could react, the containment field flickered. A pulse of blue light shot through the air, sharp and bright. The engineers shouted for everyone to move back. But Nira, frozen in fear, stood directly in the path of the unstable energy field. Elias didn't think. He dropped his tools and ran. The energy field exploded outward like lightning. He reached the girl just in time, throwing his body over hers as the pulse hit. His back burned with electric heat and the air roared. He gritted his teeth but didn't let go. When the light faded, the ground was scorched and silent. Elias lay on his side, his uniform half burned. The little Thaylen girl trembled in his arms, but she was safe, untouched. He coughed, smiled faintly, and whispered, "You're okay, kid. You're safe now." Then his world went dark. When Elias opened his eyes again, he was inside a healing pod, a clear capsule filled with faintly glowing blue liquid. Tiny lights ran through the fluid, repairing the burned skin on his back and arms. He felt weak but alive. Outside the pod, he could see several Thaylen doctors speaking quietly, and among them stood someone who made his breath catch. She was tall, elegant, and wore flowing silver robes that shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes were bright gold, calm but sharp. Her presence filled the room like quiet thunder. It was Queen Saralyn, ruler of the Thaylen Empire. Elias blinked, confused. What was the queen doing here? When the pod opened and drained, he sat up slowly. His muscles ached, but his injuries were mostly healed. The queen stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "You are the human who shielded my daughter," she said softly. Elias stared, realizing who Nira truly was, the child of the Thaylen queen herself. He tried to stand, but she gestured for him to stay seated. "Yes, ma'am," he said slowly. "She was in danger. I just reacted." The queen's golden eyes studied him carefully. "You took the blast meant for her." "Why?" Elias frowned. "Because she's a kid. I couldn't just stand there." The queen tilted her head slightly. "You knew she was Thaylen, our kind, not yours. You still protected her." "Of course," he said simply. "Doesn't matter what kind she is. A child's a child." For a long moment, the queen said nothing. Her guards exchanged uneasy glances. Thaylen culture valued logic and duty. Sacrifice for one's own kind made sense, but risking your life for an enemy's child did not. Finally, she nodded once. Our healers say you will recover fully. You may rest. She turned to leave but paused at the door. In our culture, she said quietly, a life saved is a bond created. You have tied your fate to my child's. I will not forget this, human Elias Ward. Elias tried to smile. No need to repay me, Your Majesty, just keep her safe. Her eyes softened for the first time. That I will. Days passed. Elias recovered quickly, though his back still ached from the blast. Every morning, Thalen attendants brought him strange sweet drinks that smelled like flowers. He thanked them awkwardly each time. To his surprise, he received visitors. The first was little Nira. She ran into his room with a bright smile and a small crystal flower in her hand. You saved me, she said in a small musical voice. Elias chuckled. Guess I did. You're not scary, she said. Mother said humans were dangerous. But you're kind, he smiled. Some humans are both. She giggled, not understanding, and sat beside him until her caretakers came to take her back. Later, Queen Saralyn herself came. She entered quietly without her guards. She sat near his bed, studying him the way one might study a strange star. You are not like the others, she said. Elias shrugged. I don't know. I'm just doing what feels right. In Thalen belief, she said softly, actions are born of reason. You act from something else, instinct, emotion. It is unpredictable. Yet it saved my child, Elias smiled faintly. Maybe both sides can learn something from each other. The queen looked away, her expression thoughtful. Over the next week, the story of the human protector spread across Valir Prime. People whispered about the man who had risked himself without hesitation. In the markets, Thalen's citizens bowed slightly when he passed. Even the guards who once looked at him with cold eyes now gave respectful nods. For the first time, Elias felt like maybe humans and Thalen could understand each other. But one evening, everything changed. He received a message from the human command post. Return to the human embassy. Transfer to Earth in 2 days. His mission was over. Elias was relieved, but also strangely uneasy. He had grown to like this world, its quiet glow, its curious people, and a part of him didn't want to leave without saying goodbye properly. He decided to visit the palace one last time. When he arrived, the queen was already waiting for him in her private garden. The twin suns hung low, painting her silver robes in gold light. You're leaving, she said quietly. He nodded. My duty here's finished. The peace program moves on. She looked down, her voice steady but soft. And what of the bond you created? He hesitated. That bond was never meant to bind anyone, Your Majesty. I didn't save Nira to gain anything. The queen's golden eyes lifted to his. Perhaps not. Yet she calls your name in her sleep. And my people look to you as proof that humans can act from pure heart. Elias shifted uneasily. Then let that proof stay behind, not me. The queen took a step closer. You do not understand. You have become a part of something larger. If you leave now, it will not only break my daughter's heart, it will weaken the fragile bridge between our worlds. He met her gaze, his chest tightening. I'm just one man, she whispered. Sometimes one man is enough. They stood there in silence, the air filled with soft light and the distant hum of the city. At last she said almost to herself, You saved my child's life, Elias Ward, and now I cannot let you go. Elias didn't know if it was duty, gratitude, or something deeper that made her say those words. But in that moment, under the violet sky of Valir Prime, he realized that his simple act of kindness had changed more than one life. It had changed an entire world. The next morning, Elias woke before sunrise. The violet sky of Valir Prime was still dim, and the twin suns hid behind the horizon like tired eyes. He packed his few belongings, his datapad, his old earth jacket, and a tiny carved crystal flower that Nira had given him. Today he was supposed to leave. His ship would depart in a few hours. It should have felt like relief, but instead his heart was heavy. He had spent months here. He had seen the Thalen begin to smile, laugh, and even share stories with him. For the first time since the war, he believed that humans and Thalen could understand each other. But now, he had to go back to Earth, to his people, his home. He looked out of the window at the shining city below. Goodbye, Valir, he whispered. At the palace, Queen Cerilyn stood beside her daughter's room. Nira was still sleeping, her small hands clutching the soft toy shaped like an earth bear that Elias had given her. The queen touched her child's forehead gently, but her thoughts were far away. She had lived through war, loss, and duty. Her life had always been built on control and logic. But ever since that human had shielded her daughter without hesitation, something inside her had changed. At first, it had been curiosity, then admiration, and now something she couldn't name. She told herself it was gratitude, but her heart argued otherwise. When the attendant entered and bowed, she already knew what he would say. "The human Elias Ward is preparing to leave, Your Majesty." Her fingers tightened slightly. "Has he said goodbye?" "No, Majesty. He left a message for your daughter, but none for you." Her chest felt strangely heavy. "Prepare my transport," she ordered. "I will speak with him myself." Elias walked through the quiet docking bay where Thalen and human ships rested side by side. The air smelled faintly of ozone and oil. He placed his bag near the boarding ramp and looked at the ship that would take him back home. The symbol of the Peace Corps was painted on its hull, a blue circle wrapped around two hands. A young Thalen officer approached him. "Sergeant Elias, the ship is ready." "We depart in 30 minutes, Elias nodded. "Thank you." But before he could step forward, a deep humming sound filled the hangar. The guards turned sharply. A royal transport, silver and gold, descended slowly, glowing with pale blue energy. Everyone bowed as Queen Cerilyn stepped out. Her silver robes rippled like liquid light, and her golden eyes searched the hangar until they found him. Elias sighed softly. "I should have guessed." She walked toward him, calm but firm. The guards and officers lowered their heads as she stopped just a few steps away. "You were going to leave without saying goodbye?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "I didn't want to make things harder, Your Majesty." Her gaze held his. "You think leaving in silence makes it easier?" He had no answer. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Around them, the hangar grew still. Even the machine seemed to pause. Finally, Elias spoke. "I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. My time here's done. I've done what I came to do." The Queen's voice softened. "And what if your task is not complete?" "My orders say otherwise," he said gently. She took a step closer, lowering her voice. "Orders can be rewritten. Bonds cannot," Elias exhaled slowly. "You mean the life debt?" "Yes," she said, "but it is more than law now. When you saved Nira, you showed us something new, something beyond reason. You gave without expecting. You acted without command. You became the bridge we didn't know we needed." Elias smiled faintly. "Then build the bridge, Your Majesty." "You don't need me for that anymore." She shook her head. "You are the bridge, Elias Ward." Her words caught him off guard. Before he could answer, a small voice called out from behind her. "Elias!" It was Nira, running toward him with her small crystal toy in hand. The Queen's guards tried to stop her, but she darted past them and threw her arms around Elias's waist. "Don't go," she whispered. "You promised you'd visit my garden again." Elias knelt, smiling sadly. "I did promise. But I have to go home now, Nira." Tears filled her bright eyes. "But you're my friend." "Mother says friends never leave," he swallowed hard. "Sometimes friends have to go far away, but that doesn't mean they stop caring." The Queen watched silently, her expression unreadable. Nira held out the little crystal flower. "Then take this so you don't forget me." Elias took it gently, his chest tightening. "I'll never forget you." When he stood again, the Queen said softly, "You see, you are already part of this world." He met her gaze. "And that's exactly why I have to leave. If I stay, it'll stop others from stepping up. They'll wait for the human protector instead of learning to protect each other." Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. He was right, yet her heart refused to accept it. "You speak of logic," she said finally, "but you act from heart. How can you preach reason while following emotion?" He smiled sadly. "Because being human means doing both." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then she took a deep breath and stepped back. "Very well," she said quietly. "If you believe leaving is what must be done, I will not stop you." Elias bowed his head in respect. "Thank you, Your Majesty." He turned and began to walk toward the boarding ramp, but before he entered, her voice echoed softly through the hangar. "Elias Ward." He turned back. Her golden eyes shone with a warmth that wasn't there before. "You once said you saved my child because it was the right thing to do. I now understand. The right thing is not always logical, but it is always human. Thank you for teaching me that, Elias smiled. You're welcome, ma'am. And then he stepped aboard the ship. The journey back to Earth was long and quiet. Stars drifted past the windows like silver dust. Elias spent most of his time sitting near the viewport, holding the small crystal flower. He thought about the Queen's words, about Nira's laugh, and about the strange, beautiful world he had left behind. When he finally reached Earth, the blue planet looked both familiar and distant. The air smelled like rain. The sky felt heavy with clouds instead of twin suns. He was home, but a part of him still belonged to Valir Prime. Months passed. Elias worked again with the Peace Corps, helping rebuild trade routes between human and Thaylen worlds. The alliance between the two species began to grow stronger. The Queen often sent messages through official channels, formal, polite, but always ending with the same line. May your path be light. Human Elias, he always smiled when he read it. One evening, as he walked along a quiet balcony at the Earth Embassy, he saw a small transport ship descending, its hull gleaming silver and gold. He blinked in surprise. When the hatch opened, 2 Thaylen guards stepped out. And then she appeared, Queen Saralyn. Her presence was as commanding as ever, but her eyes were softer now. She approached him with a faint smile. I told my council I was here for diplomatic talks, she said. But truthfully, I came to see the human who taught me how to feel. Elias laughed lightly. And what did they say? They said it was illogical, she said with a small grin. I told them logic is overrated. They both laughed softly, and for a moment the weight of worlds disappeared. She looked at him thoughtfully. You once said humans act from heart. I wanted to see if that was true even when the stars change. It is, he said simply. And maybe that's why we can help heal what's broken between us. The Queen nodded slowly. Then perhaps we should continue. Together, Elias blinked. Together? She smiled faintly. Valir Prime has rebuilt its academy for interspecies cooperation. I want you to lead it. Teach both our peoples what it means to act with both reason and heart. He hesitated, looking at the stars above. Part of him still wanted peace and quiet, but another part, the part that had run toward a child without thinking, knew his answer. He smiled. All right, Your Majesty. One more mission, then. She extended her hand, the Thaylen gesture of agreement. Then we begin. Years later, stories would spread across both worlds about the human and the Queen, 2 beings from opposite sides who built the bridge between species not with weapons or treaties, but with kindness and courage. And sometimes, when the sons of Valir Prime set over the city, the Queen would walk through her garden, holding a small earth flower that never wilted. Beside her, a human laughed softly, his voice carrying through the warm twilight.